Alright, welcome to this screen recording. Today we're going to have a quick look at using clipping masks in Adobe Illustrator. Um, Once again, as usual, I usually suggest making sure your workspace is fairly neat to start with. I'm just going to import in Control V a tank that I've created, and let's open up my layers panel over here. Now, you will notice that depending on how you've got your workspace set out, you may have this toolbar here, and we have some shortcuts for that. So I do recommend trying to get used to using that, but otherwise, most of what we need is in our drop down panel. And let's have my layers panel here. Now I actually have a tank that I had previously. I'm going to delete that. And this is a fairly complex shape, all done using the isometric technique. And we've got all these little headlamps and all sorts of tank treads and fun things like that, which are all vector based, and they're all grouped together so that if I select on that object I can move it around as such. So that's kind of fun. Now the way that we're going to use clipping masks is quite simple, but there's a few little tricks along the way. So again, I just have this one layer, and I'm going to keep everything sort of in that for now anyway. So let's have a quick look what clipping masks do. So they require a path. So I'm actually going to create a path, and I'm just going to create a path that sort of looks like a human figure. And as you can see, I've got a sort of a weird uh, pattern selected. But that doesn't really matter at any point. So here's my path here. Select on there. There's a pattern. Now, if you do not have any predefined swatch palettes or anything like that, remember you can load these up individually. You just simply go to your Windows panel and go to swatches, and here they are here, and you can define over here show all swatches, in which case I've got a decent amount shown up here, show color swatches, etc. If you do not have any loaded up, you may need to go to this little swatch libraries menu here, and you can load these up over here. So there's quite a few over here, gradients, etc. Patterns may come in helpful, web, etc. And you can either select on them individually and drag them in, or you may wish to select a whole heap and shift and then drag those in as well, and you can sort of create little libraries and stuff. Do try and get to learn how to use all these. They do definitely come in handy. So that's basically how we can load those up, and now they'll be sitting in our swatch panels on both of our sections here, which is kind of cool. So let's get back to doing this. Here's my object here. I can drop in a fill. Doesn't really matter what the color is for this. I can go and re-edit elements of that as well using my pen tool. But I just thought I'd create a basic figure here, and then I'm going to drag that over the top of my tank. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my layers panel so you can see that these are all in the same layer. The tank is grouped separately, but that's fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything. So let's grab all of those, and then I'm going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Object, Clipping Mask, and Make. And as you can see, what that does is kicks everything outside of the shape that I placed in front. So that little figure, torso sort of shape, everything outside of that is now kicked out. The tank itself is still there, but this is acting as a mask. Now I can reselect on everything, and in my options here I can go to edit content, and this will allow me to transform the tank accordingly and move it around, so I can sort of decide where that's going to be placed. So you can start seeing where this is going to really apply quite often in graphical design. We also do have the option of moving just the mask as well. However, I do find this can be a little bit tricky in just that separating it from the object, because occasionally what will happen is it'll try and grab the object itself, and as you sort of transform up, it will scale everything with it, like it did just then. If you are running into that, really simple, just go to Object, Clipping Mask, and Release. It's going to kick everything out. You may need to go back to your Layers panel, select on what was your solid object, and then move and place accordingly. If you are running into a situation where you keep accidentally grabbing onto multiple components, don't forget you can select on an object, and if you double click on that, once you have it selected, it is going to open in isolation mode, and you'll notice here is our isolation mode here, and this means that we can go quite happily ahead and transform or do whatever we want with that particular layer without any chance of accidentally selecting on anything else. And once we've got that in the place that we want, we can do with it what we will, without repercussion of grabbing the other objects. We can jump back like so, select our objects, object, clipping path, and make. Now before we go too far into that, I'm going to release all that. Object, clipping path, release. Great. I'm going to get rid of that character. He's not that much fun. And I'm going to drop in some text. I'm going to go T for text, and I'm going to click in, and I'm just going to write the word tank. There it is. There is a little bit small, so I'm going to scale that up, holding down Shift for this, and place it over the tank. Now, you may wish to try different fonts with this. I'm going to go for something fairly solid. So something like Impact could be quite good. I didn't quite mind the one we previously had. This one looks kind of cool. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to open up my actions. So from previous videos, hopefully you should have your isometric actions placed in. I'm going to change this to button mode, and let's just try this ISO left. Hooray. And now we've got some text that looks like it's isometrically left. You don't have to do that, but just keeping in with the context of the whole thing. And I can maybe place that over. And once again, select everything, object, clipping mask, and make. And there it is, the tank option. So that's really, definitely got its uses. Can scale up and do whatever we want with that. And the cool thing is we can actually add to the text. So if we want to move that around, we can. Release the clipping mask as well, add images, and you can see how that's kind of really cool. So I'm going to release that now. I'm just going to show you a few more options for doing that.